Cool.
What's up, trash talkers? Listen, it's impossible to fight, okay, if you don't know what you're fighting for. Does that make sense? Like, if you're in the dumps and you're struggling with mental health, things of that nature, it's going to continue tearing you down, all right? Because you're consistently trying to fight something, which is that demon, which is usually something from the past, right? Maybe that why needs to be fighting for your future. Let that be your why. Get the hell up and start fighting for your future. Stop fighting things that happened in the past. Easier said than done, right? Go seek help. It's okay not to be okay. A lot of people need to hear this. You are more of a warrior and a fighter if you stand up and say, hey, this has to stop. I need to go seek help. The stigma, everything has changed. It's okay not to be okay.
Here is a firm believer in all men are created equal, but not all men live equal. That is why there's a certain select number of people in the DoD who decided to jump out of airplanes. And yes, we are better than you. 100%. Now, don't be the first triggered pansy to say, well, airborne's not relevant. You haven't jumped since World War II. Well, that's not accurate, for one. And two, it's like having a jalopy or a 68 Mustang. Well, a 68 Mustang's no longer relevant. Doesn't matter. It's still a better car than yours. So take it easy this National Airborne Day and just accept that we are better than you.
So, two things for today's Honesty Cap. First thing, how do all my boys from the 101st feel knowing that the Army decided that instead of actually making you airborne, they just create a whole new division that's airborne because you just aren't cutting it? It sucks. Thing number two, for all the folks who were like, oh, airborne is irrelevant, doesn't even matter, they're making a whole new division of just airborne people because they're relevant. Think about that. How's that feel? Does it hurt a little bit? I hope it hurts a little bit.
This is the Veteran Trash Talk Hour, hosted by Nick, Dave, and Buddy. Real warriors making fun of other real warriors. Try to not get triggered.
What's up, trash talkers? What is up, Gruntworks Nation?
Buddy already run away?
To episode 12 of the Trash Talk Hour. Special guest today is Army veteran and financial advisor Ken Hewett. And today I'm joined by the Baker and Buddy. Happy Saturday. How's everybody doing?
Oh, where's Nicholas? What happened?
He's at the Offspring concert.
Oh,
He's at an Offspring concert.
Offspring. What do you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Super important.
No comment.
Yeah.
No comment.
But I'm doing good. I'm here.
I'm glad you're here. Yeah.
Hanging out. Buddy, how you doing?
See you on front of the camera or in front of the camera, not behind it, I guess.
Yeah. Although I'm still kind of doing both.
We got Fuller in the chat. Boy, you are a fool. What up, dude? Yeah.
That's just mean.
I know. Well, we'll carry on the show without Nick, our great CEO, who decided to go to an Offspring concert and just have us work on a Saturday, right? No,
hey,
I'm just kidding.
We canceled the fight show this morning too.
Oh man!
You know what?
I think the great Nicholas actually drank a little too much this morning, and that's why he canceled. Because he sent the message at it was like 6:30 his time. He's like canceling the fight show. And that was all that was said.
PJ was definitely sleeping still.
Well, yeah, he can't hang with us. We've seen that.
He can't hang 2-3 days in a row. Yeah, that's just.
He has a hard time with just the one day.
I agree.
I've seen it.
Yeah. We love you, Nick. We love you. Hope you have a blast at the Offspring concert. And
enjoy. It's a great show. I've seen him twice now, and it's awesome.
I've never
every
seen him
time.
live.
So
I used to listen to him all the time in my skater days, like Green Day and Offspring. Like
your
that
Fruit
was our
Booter
thing.
days.
Yeah.
No, I saw him in 2005 at Warped Tour. That was like my first ever big concert by myself. I was a young PFC, and I was like, hey, Warped Tour's in town. I'm going to go. And so I took one of my Corman buddies, and we bought him a ticket from a scalper outside, and when it was a blast. We got to see them. We got to see Atreyu. The Transplants were there. It was nice. A good show. And then I took Amanda last year to the Offspring. It was the Offspring, Simple Plan, and Sum 41.
Ken, have you ever been to an Offspring concert?
No.
Me neither. So,
guys are missing out. You need to do it.
I was going with the odds, and I was hoping that I wasn't the only one. I would have felt ridiculous if you'd have been like, "Yeah, I go all the time." I'd be like, "Okay."
No, I'm just wondering what they are.
They were born like other Offspring. They too were born at some point. That's all I know about them.
We're breaking this out now. We're gonna do this.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
that's the thing.
One of our sponsors,
Andrew, aloha from Las Vegas as well. Jerry, yeah.
Since Dave forgot to talk about our other sponsors, we've also got the Veterans Mortgage Source down there. If you need a mortgage, veteran loan, the guy knows everything. And then you could call Dave right there to get the house. Boom, boom.
And you can call Ken to find out if you can afford it.
Exactly, because Ken's also one of ours, and we'll get into that later in the show.
And if you can't, go to 10thwhiskey.com and just buy a bottle of bourbon and drink yourself to sleep or whatever.
And
there's two types of financial planning. One where you actually plan, and the other one where you just forget that you didn't make a good plan. That's the two ways, I guess.
And the last one down there, PCS to Paradise. So we need to make sure Tyler does this because he'll be going there soon, won't he?
Yep. He absolutely will. He'll be stationed in Hawaii. He'll be
whether you're going in or out,
March, April.
Scan that code. Corey will get you taken care of.
Legal advice. Yep. We got plenty of legal advice, but we are definitely all barracks lawyers. So there's not a thing that you should do that we say.
I did stay at a Holiday Inn Express once.
Just tell them that you're a sovereign citizen.
That's barracks lawyers are like the barbershop.
I've seen that be pretty
experts.
That is correct.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But anyway, let's kickstart this show. I know we're a little bit on a time crunch. We started a couple of minutes late, and we are going to kick it off with a conspiracy. And what better conspiracy to talk about than UFOs and aliens right now?
Sorry, buddy, I didn't mean to scare you like that.
Yeah. Congress is doing their second congressional this year on the UAP and alien phenomena.
Why is that?
And supposedly this video is at Congress right now. They didn't speak about it during the whole congressional, but we're going to watch this video. This is footage from 1992, and I don't know if it's real or not.
So here it is.
This is a film shot in April of 1991, a thought projection interview of a other gray, designated an other gray, an extraterrestrial biological entity. He is a haploid, which means he came with only one sexual chromosome. Human beings are diploids. This being had only one sexual chromosome. He came to the S2 Alpha, the official designation of the underground facility that housed the alien interrogation and retention program. That's the unofficial name of what this was. They call these interview suites the ambassador suites because the government did try for the care and did treat these and look at these beings and still do as ambassadors from other planets and other dimensions. And if you hear David Grush coughing on his words, it's because he doesn't want to tell you that some of these beings are from other dimensions. And I didn't catch this, and someone else did, so I'm crediting them. I don't ever want to not credit other people. That Colin Powell was in that interview room. Now, I know that sounds crazy. I can't verify it, but it certainly looks like the outline of him. It looks like an African-American male in his 50s wearing an Army Class A dress uniform. Funny, the Rear Admiral that was on my list was the person that reported intelligence to the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Interesting. But that's how bizarre this film has gotten. And I'm not even going to tell you anything about the telepaths because I don't want it to get into the Da Vinci Code. But even Doty said that the telepathic program, the people they hired, was ridiculous. They were like one step above 1-800 psychics back in the 80s and 90s. But there was two men in particular that were very in touch with these beings, and they would sit down with these aliens and these beings and immediately get information and relate it back to whatever military person was in the room. As you can see on the tape, the being eventually starts to medically flag, if I can use the whistleblower Victor's terminology, and he is then attended to by the medical staff. And Victor tells us that the medical staff in S2 and S4, are more chosen for their ability to keep secrets than their medical knowledge. And
So there's like a whole documentary on this one, and this was taped in 1992. So I think you can throw out the whole, well, why don't we have good cameras or phone cameras or whatever, technology wise,
Well, I got something for that. Don't you worry.
Yeah, that might have been a VHS tape or whatever. But with everything going on, and this video was turned into Congress, and the New York Times was going to do an article on it if you guys watched the full story on it, and then they were told not to or decided not to. It's just there's a lot surrounding this video. To me, hey, why not? I mean, I believe that we have found bodies. All right, they have talked about that in the congressional, where they're David Grouch and whatever, all the other guys. They have said that we have recovered bodies as well with these spacecrafts. So why can't this video of this gray alien supposedly that's alive be real? So yeah, I'm gonna go with this video is real. It's not fake, and yeah. Hopefully we hear more about it. Buddy, I can't wait for your take because you're already looking at me like that. But you thought that the aliens in Miami were real. So I don't know. We'll get to that. But Ken, what's your thought? Is this a bunch of BS? Is this video fake? Or is there something to it, you think?
I think there may be something to it. I haven't, like in financial planning, I don't make quick decisions. I like to analyze it, but that would have to something I'd have to look more deeply into it to see if I felt it was real or not.
I love that. And that's a good answer. That's you just straight to the point. All right. I like it. Buddy, what's your take? What do we got going on here?
Chris can go first.
Okay, Chris, Buddy's still writing stuff down.
Well, I'm going to fucking bullshit flag right out the gate. So the median average viewership for us is around the 40 to 50-year-old males. We've all seen Terminator 1. I'm just going, those are the exact same animatronics right there on that screen. Notice we got one shot where we saw here up, but the rest of it was just a head. And yeah, early 90s, the video might be real. Really fake. Some animatronic bullshit. I'm just saying, that's just nope.
Nope.
I took a couple.
Now, okay, real quick before Buddy goes in on it, Chris, you might have watched part of the congressional, but do you believe that they have found?
Oh, I'm sure that they have, but do you think they're going to tell us about that shit? Fuck no.
Yeah, well, I mean, they are.
No way.
There's tons of whistleblowers that are coming out now. But you're just saying this video is fake.
And where's the proof? Put that motherfucker on the screen. Walk him out. Then I'll believe it.
Okay. All right. I like it. Buddy, you just did an essay in a few minutes. Okay. It's your turn. Yes, sir.
Here's what I have a problem with. I do think that that recording is fake. 100%.
Fake is the moon landing fake, buddy?
It looks a lot like all aliens are bobblehead dolls. Are they bobblehead dolls? Because that alien was just doing this. So that is awfully weird. Also,
he said he was flagging or whatever that medical term is that they used. He was medically flagging.
And because the alien was flagging, the medical professional, I'm not a medical professional, but I do know that if you are going into some type of trauma, the last thing you probably want to do, especially with something that has eyes the size of saucers, is take about a 50,000 lumen light bulb and just shine it right in their face and then shove it in their throat. Like, here, what can you, is that what it is? Do you just need light? Do you need more light?
Yeah.
No, disagree.
Maybe he was saying, yes, I do. He was
No. Also, I know that 1992 was a long time ago. And again, not a medical professional, but I would like to believe that they were smart enough medically back in the 90s, where if they were coming up on like some type of alien anything, they wouldn't be in short sleeve shirts, just rubbing their skin on some alien.
Where's the biohazard suits?
Just getting alien bacteria all over them.
Unless, because no, listen, real quick. In these congressionals, they're talking about that, like spaceships and all that shit's been happening over the last 100 years. So maybe they know that it's just not
100 years. This is in the 90s, and again, it's gonna gotta kind of go. Their words have meanings. They do mean things.
I agree. Yeah.
And anytime you're dealing with an alien of any sort, generally, you don't just want to rub up against them. You know what I mean? Because you don't know where they've been.
And the last 100 years, I call bullshit on that. 1920s is when the aliens started coming around. Oh, no, look at that. Look at that. She showed ankle. Get the fuck. Nope, we're going in. Let's go. We got to stop that. No, if they're coming, they've been coming around for fucking ever.
Yeah, correct. But I'm saying, like, actually, like, documented where, like, the government is, like, heavily involved with it. That's how I mean it. I don't mean, like,
say that, except for we've also, I mean, we have done shows where we talked about, like, the Aztecs and the Egyptians 100%. Having, like, stuff.
Well, Dave, excuse me, but aren't you the expert on the alien panel?
Right.
Here?
Boom.
So, Dave, what's your take on that video?
I actually thought that there might be something to it. I think, but now I'm also, you know, I'll take feedback. And Buddy brought up a good point with the whole, like, why, and Chris said the same thing.
Don't say that.
Like, why aren't they in, like, you know, some sort of, like, protective suit or whatever? Because if you watch the congressionals, which I've watched one, I haven't watched the one that just happened. There are a lot of individuals that have been hurt, right? That's part of one of the topics in the congressionals that have been exposed to. They don't say necessarily the bodies, but they've been exposed to, like, radioactive whatever from the UAPs and stuff, and they've actually been hurt medically and, like, had to retire out of the military, and there's, like, a whole thing about it.
Sure, they've been hurt emotionally too.
So let me just interject this. So
maybe I retract my statement a little bit. Maybe it isn't as real as I think it is.
Sure.
You know?
So when I analyze things, this is part of it.
Yeah.
So I got to hear a counterpoint's just nixing it. So at this point now,
that's why we do this. We figured it out. We just
I might have been 50-50 one way or the other. But now that I've listened to the panel, I'm down to about 10%. It would take a lot now to convince me.
Aliens are fake. I'm about right here on Veteran Trash Talk.
I'm about to get you down to probably about 4.2% when I bring up that they did talk about in those congressional hearings that 90% or whatever you said earlier, these aliens were from the ocean.
Are they aliens then?
Hold on. Well, they would still be alien to above the surface to Terra.
But what would it make us?
That's fair.
It would if they're already
now
here.
We're aliens.
Ocean, yeah.
But here's the question, right? If they came from the deep sea, which is like thousands of psi, like you can't even send a homemade sub down there. They blow up. Oh, right?
Too soon, buddy. Too soon.
But when you leave about
there's another company
when
like
you go 50 atmospheres up, everything gets bigger. Maybe that's why their heads get bigger. But you would also think as soon as they came out of the boat, now they can't breathe or do anything because
have you been fishing before, buddy?
It would be like us landing on the moon and some critter that lives on the moon coming out, ripping our face, like our little mask off and then shining a light in our face. Like, is this all right? Is this helping you breathe?
That's what those giant spiders in Antarctica are doing. We talked about those. But no, that's a good point. And we've explored more of space than we have of our oceans.
True. So
there's a big conspiracy with NASA too, that they're actually more involved with our oceans, but they just don't talk about it.
NASA actually started as a deep sea organization and not in outer space.
But he's
outer
a
space
combat
is
dive
easier.
master. He knows this.
Outer space is actually easier than, because if you think about it, when you go up,
there's no crushing pressure.
Like you go 10,000 feet, you're still in the same atmosphere. You go above that, you start going above atmospheres.
You hit
But
that.
if you go
firmament,
3 meters down, you're going into a different atmosphere. And I think it's like it's anywhere 3 to 5 meters is a different atmosphere when you go underwater. Just saying, it's a lot harder to go down than it is to go up, everybody.
Great point. Great discussion. I like this. This was really good. Yeah, so fuck that video. Zero.
Sometimes.
Didn't happen. There you go. Look at that.
I tried to find the Terminator scene that I was referencing where you just see the robot and his head's doing the same thing. Immediately, it's all I could think about. Couldn't find it.
True.
What is anybody that's watching? What is your take? No, nobody wants to answer that. Normally, they're all over there.
I think that
I think they're tired of aliens, Dave. I'm not gonna lie.
Todd says my wife said that. Okay.
So anyway, now we have
the honesty cap, buddy.
What? Oh yeah. Now we're doing the honesty cap, and so earlier this week, I had to go out to a range. I had no idea how to get to the range that I was trying to get to. And I called the guy, and the guy was like, well, you can go, like, everybody goes this way, but there's a shortcut. Take this route, right? So I take this route. I ended up getting stuck, having to have somebody come pull me out, this, that, and the other. And it hit me. If the shortcut was better than the way everyone goes,
everybody would go that way.
It would just be the fucking way. It would just be the way. It wouldn't be a shortcut. It would just be the way. And I thought about how that works in like almost every phase of your life. Like people are taking a Ozempic to try to lose weight. If taking Ozempic was the way, if that would just be how everyone does it. But it's not. The way is just eat less, exercise more. That's the way. That's the way you do it. Like taking shortcuts generally doesn't make anything shorter. If people tell you, hey, you could drive down 95 to get to Florida. Oh, but you can take this side road. It cuts off like 20 miles. This is a shortcut. Don't take it. It's not a shortcut. Because if it was a shortcut, it would just be the way Google tells you to do it. It's not. It's not true. Don't do it. Don't take shortcuts, which leads us into Ken. Ken is our financial manager, and he knows not to take shortcuts. Ken's going to tell us about how to plan your financial future, how to plan your financial life. And Ken, please tell us that you know the way and not just some short. Because I was told once to play the lottery. It was a shortcut. Been playing the lottery for a long time. Guess what? Still broke.
That's funny. I actually have a client that won the lottery many years ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
so
at least he did the right thing and got somebody like you to say, hey, I just won a bunch of money. That's actually a really good point. Like, I need some assistance here. Like, what do I do?
Yeah.
Well, actually, I reached out to him because he bought a term life policy from me like a couple of years before he won. And back then, when him and his wife won $24 million in the Texas lottery. So
just means you're unlucky, buddy.
It comes across the news flash, and I go, well, that can't be my guy because everybody has that same last name in El Paso. It was a Hispanic guy. So I called him that night when I saw his face on the thing. He goes, well, Ken, he was an engineer, so he happened to not only win the lottery, but he was smart. You're out of your league. So I said, I'll tell you what, let's make a deal. Let's have lunch tomorrow and I'll buy. And he goes, well, hell, Ken, I just won the lottery. I'll buy lunch. So we get together the next day, and overnight I had a law firm that I still work with that put together a lot of financial stuff. I knew what his tax would be if him and his wife died. I knew if he took the lump sum, if he took the payments. I had it all figured out, his estate, everything. I did it overnight. I worked on it for I didn't go to bed. I just worked on that until we had lunch the next day. So I had a book. I can't see that thick with dividers and everything, printed up. We sit down to have lunch, and we start going through this, and he says, "Hey, Ken, this is amazing. Thank you." I said, "Why are you thanking me? That's my book. That's my intellectual property. You said I'm out of my league. So what, how much do I have to pay? My attorney doesn't even know this. Who's your attorney?" He told me his first name. I go, "I know your attorney." The guy's an older guy, and he uses longhand. So it's going to take him 3 weeks to get this, but I already have it. So he goes, "Well, damn it, Ken, I want this book." I said, "I'll give you the book, but we have to make a deal." And I asked him if he ever plays poker. He goes, "Yeah, I just want a seat at the table. All I'm asking for, you're the boss. You have to be the boss. Because if you're not the boss, these attorneys and the CPAs are going to run over you. You have to tell them, I get to hire my advisor. So all I'm asking, you don't have to hire me, but after you go through what you do, like think of as an engineer, you either hire me or you don't." 6 months later, he hired me. And the attorney hired me, and the CPA hired me too. So that took a lot of planning. Those don't happen very often. He passed away last year, and his daughters have retained me. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. But what I would tell you, the biggest mistake that I've seen with new clients, because if they're my clients, we're doing it the right way. But I'll get new clients that will say, "Well, I bought this because this guy showed me that. Or this gal showed me that." Well, did they do a plan? Did they know everything about you? So I have new clients who say, "Well, Ken, I don't want to share that information with you. Why do I have to do that?" And I explain to them, "Well, look, I'm a fiduciary, which means I have to put your interests above my own. But you have to understand something. Whatever you share with me is private. I can't share this with anybody else."
Yep.
However, somebody asked about having legal advice. So in my world, we have something called a compliance department. Now they do see everything that you share with me, but it's really kind of helpful. It's like having a team of some really smart folks who will ask me, "Hey, Ken, so what do you think you're going to do?" And I'll go through it with them. And sometimes they'll give me some ideas. But so in order to design a plan for somebody, I need to know, what's your Social Security outlook? If you're military retired, do you have the TSP? What are you doing there? Are you doing a Roth, or are you doing a regular reduction type retirement plan? So what are your pensions? How much do you want to leave to your spouse if you were to die? So we look at everything. Well, I look at everything, but I say we because I'd call the compliance like my team. And then I have different investment groups that I work with when I'm going over stuff. But I think to do it the right way, you have to look at the whole picture.
So Ken, why don't you tell us where you started with all of this, how you got into it, your time in the Army, kind of give us the man behind the numbers, if you will.
Yeah.
And so it's a two-part question. Well, I'll go ahead. I'll go after that. Go ahead, Ken.
So I was telling the guys earlier, it seemed like everybody in here is retired. And I
only did 5 years.
Did you?
I was
Okay,
short-termer as well.
Chris, you and I are more on the same page. So I was only in 3 years. Everybody kidded me.
Well, you are quitters.
They thought I would be a lifer because I actually loved it. But I had this incident with an officer. I won it. I went all the way to Article 15, and the colonel called him and said, "Drop it. You're a liar, and we approve." And it was dropped.
Oh.
But my concern was, what if I do this when I got 15 or 16 years in and I lose? I thought this could be a career bust because I had a big mouth. If I saw something wrong, I'd call them out. I didn't care who you were. So, and I don't think that's changed too much. But anyway, so I used to, several sergeants and us, we'd get together, we'd go camping and, grilling and all that stuff. And one of the sergeants at the campfire was still trying to, he said, "I see you're not going to stay in, Ken. Have you have a career path yet?" "No, I have no idea what the hell I'm going to do. I just know January 9th's coming and I'm out." "You ought to go into the life insurance business." "Why is that?" "Well, Ken, with your story." So my story is, when I was 11 years old, my dad died unexpectedly, and he was Air Force as well. But the amount of life insurance that he had with SGLI back then was $10,000, and he died overseas. So the JAG officer's there that night, and the JAG officer tells us it's going to cost $5,000 to ship him home. And my mom says, well, then there will not be a funeral. I wasn't very happy about that because I wanted to pay my last respects to my dad, which to this day I still haven't. But
wow,
Spanky, who was the sergeant, that was his nickname. And by the way, I asked him, why do they call you Spanky? His uncle was Spanky McFarland from the Little Rascals. So had a great sense of humor. So I got into the life insurance business in 81, and over time I became an independent, got my Series 7, which is the stockbroker's license, became a fiduciary, and that's how I got started.
Nice. All right, so I want to I don't know, this probably could take forever, but maybe if you could summarize it or make it a little bit shorter. Obviously, we have a younger crowd that watches this, individuals that are still in the military right now, and then we have older individuals that already got out. If you were telling a young soldier like my son who just joined, to start saving, like what would be a couple key points that he could take away from this and say, all right, this is what I need to do right now to set myself up?
Yeah, there's two things. There's two things. So all of the branches have the retirement plan that you can put money into, but you've got to do at least 5%. Now, if you do the 5%, the military matches you at 5%. So that 5% is free money. So that's one. That puts you at 10%. I would tell my son, the very first paycheck you ever get, you ought to go 10. Now you're at 15. And I would also say, I don't care what those advisors tell you, just go to the most aggressive fund they've got. So the most aggressive fund they've got is going to be, you want to go as much equities as you can. Okay. So I'm a big believer in the S&P 500. So the S&P 500 said, technically that's the 500, and TSP is going to have something that's going to be like that. But the S&P 500, the top 20 companies control it. The top 10 have 20 to 20. So you're going to have Amazon. You're going to have, you just think of a good company, Walmart, Apple. Those are the companies. But the thing is, the S&P uses math. It uses no emotion, which I think is really important when it comes to investing. So if a company starts to drop, their percentage drops, and then the winners come up. So that's why if you ever hear an advisor say the markets always come back, because the markets have always come back. So I would say highly equities if I'm young. It's the most aggressive thing I could be, and definitely go to that TSP plan. You're never going to bitch and complain. You're never going to get bitch and complain when you get to retirement age that you got too much money. That's never been a conversation that I've had.
It's not an issue, right?
Yeah. What they complain about is they come to me and they didn't save any damn money, and they want me to create miracles. So I hope that answered it.
Absolutely. Absolutely it did. And then two-part real quick to somebody who gets out after 20 years and
you got time,
who didn't do any of those smart things and is like, oh, is it too late to start investing now? Like, what do I do? I'm 40 years old, 45. I just retired out of the military. I didn't plan properly. Like, what are some pointers and some tips for anybody that's watching right now that you could say, hey, you could start doing this to set yourself up for success in 5 or 10 years, or, what are their options at that point?
Well, okay.
I know that's a tough one, but
I have a friend of mine who's a retired lieutenant colonel, and he called me about a year ago, and he was complaining that when he gets together with other retired lieutenant colonels, some of these majors, captains, whatever, how much money they have in their portfolios. Now, the problem that this guy had is he raised 10 children, and he put them all through college. But he's worked he went to the GS route, so he's got a 20-year career there, and he's got his lieutenant colonel pension. So I said, look, dude, between your pensions and Social Security, because I did get in there and help with the Social Security, he's going to have a guaranteed income at 62 of about $120,000 a year. So what I told him is, hey, if you can't live on that, then I don't know what the hell you can do. So one of the great things, if you're talking about somebody who put 20 years in, well, then they've qualified for their pension. And I would tell them, go get a GS job since you're 40 and make sure you get another pension. Now think about what I just told them. I didn't make any money doing that because that's the thing I would do. Now, on top of that, then I'd say, look, you go to the GSA, they're going to have a 401k type of program. Get in it because that's going to be where you're going to get your cash from. And then I would help on there.
I like it. Thank you.
And that it does. So when most people think about planning for retirement or whatever, they're civilians who don't have, or people that won't have a pension or whatever, I guess. So their goal generally, would you say that it's like to have X amount of dollars per month to live off of when they're no longer working? Or because the big question is, like, you see a lot of people that are in their, 70s and 80s, and they've been thrifty, they've saved, they've invested, and they're worth, millions of dollars, but they live like paupers. When do you spend your money? When do you enjoy the fruits of your labor? At some point.
It's funny you bring that up. So I can bring up stories, and people tell me, I've done workshops on Social Security, taxes, and retirement. Mm-hmm. And I've gotten people as clients because they said out of all the ones they went to, I was the only one who would use stories to give them answers. So I had this couple who came to my office, about 10 years ago. And the guy said he came to see me because his wife was a retired principal, but he was a laborer. So he would go to one of these shops and he'd say, can you explain to me now what we just went through? Because I didn't understand a damn thing that guy said. Mm-hmm. But he came in, he says, I get in the car with my wife after years. Can I go, well, I remembered those 5 stories and it made sense to me. But he shows up and he's the client you're talking about. Him and his wife have saved about $2 million. Mm-hmm. They were already receiving Social Security and they both had really nice pensions. And he made this comment to me. He goes, now, Ken, I want you to know that when I die, I don't want more than $1 left to anybody, but my wife gets everything, but I don't want my son to get a damn dime because he makes more money than me anyway. He doesn't need any of this money. So it's about 4 meetings later, because remember, we had to do the whole analysis. And I looked at him and his name's Rosendo. I said, Rosendo, would you like the good news or the bad news? Well, the good news. They're both kind of the same. If you don't change what you're doing, you're not going to die with 2 million. You're going to die with about 10 million. And that seems to be what you don't want. Mm-hmm. Why? Because you don't spend any money. He made the mistake of telling me that when him and his wife travel, they'd stop in a Motel 6.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, so I showed him, what's the Hotwire? Go to hotwire.com, click on I want a restaurant and I want this. And guess what? You might be in a Holiday Inn. It's going to be a step up. That's how they travel now. But what I did is I took their money and I gave them a blueprint of how they were going to have income of an extra $5,000 a month coming in, come hell or high water. Mm-hmm. Now they're traveling. They're traveling the U.S. They're enjoying life. Because I had to explain to him, what are you afraid of? That's the big thing that I have to have with clients sometimes. So here's a couple that was perfect for what you just said.
Yeah, well, I know, like, for instance, my dad's retired from the military, retired from the post office after that. My mom's retired. My dad worked 2 jobs while I was in the military. We used to, like, everything he's always done has been thrifty. Like, he came from a poor family, so he's always saved and saved and saved.
A generational thing. Yeah.
And we're still to the point where, I mean, my dad's almost 80 years old, and it's a point of pride for him to have like the same $100 in his wallet for like 8 months. And it's just like, my man, you worked so hard, you saved all this money, you're worth all of this for what? Like, you're like,
enjoy life.
But it's like it's almost like he became a victim of his of the good financial habits that he made to get to that point. Now it's like, it's him trying to figure out how to break those habits to enjoy like anything other than looking at and he still looks at his stocks, and like he'll look at his investments and like, I just don't look at them anymore. They'll go down, they go up. It drives me crazy. I was like, or just go spend it. Like, at some point, And that kind of brings me to my next question, Ken. Like, there are a lot of people that talk about the difference between a trust and a will. And using a trust to pay you and becoming your own kind of corporation, so that you can get some tax shelters and stuff like that. What is your advice? And what would you say would be the I guess a two-part question. What would you say would be the first step to figuring out whether you need a will and a trust? And then, speaking of trust, how do you find someone that you can trust to invest your money without stealing your money, like all of these other horror stories?
Well, wait. That's okay. I'll try to give you the quickest explanation I can give you between the difference of a revocable living trust and a will. Okay. So I live in Texas. Wills we're told probate's reasonable here. 1% to 3% is what the attorneys tell us, because I know most of the good estate tax attorneys in this city. But I would tell your audience to check out LegalZoom.com. So LegalZoom, they're in every state, and they're very inexpensive. So their two-part will is typically like $350, but to go up to a trust, it might be $500. Very reasonable. So why would I want a trust over a will? And in El Paso, which is really the getaway city, is Ruidoso, New Mexico. It's a 2.5-hour drive, or you can go to Cloudcroft. It's 2 hours. Because in the summer, if you haven't heard, our summers get pretty hot. Cloudcroft, if it's 110 degrees in El Paso, the high there might be 75, because they're 25 miles up, and it's beautiful. Ruidoso is maybe 85 when it's 110. So it's a getaway. So what a lot of people have done that got money, they buy cabins and stuff in those two communities. So they now own property in two different states. If they die, they're going to be probated in both those states. If I have a revocable living trust, there's no probate, but I have to put everything into the trust. That's advantage one. Advantage number two is it's private. So if I have a will and I die, anybody can go down to the county records and check me out. If I have a trust, it's private. So those are the two biggest reasons. But I would tell your audience, LegalZoom's going to be, and by the way, get the package deal. Buy the most expensive plan they have, because you get free legal advice for up to a year for that. So what happens is you're going to kind of go online and fill out your application. Then they're going to set you up with an attorney, and they give you up to 30 minutes, and you can do it as often as you want. And I don't get a dime from LegalZoom, but I have sent them a lot of business. My lottery client, by the way, about a few years before he died, I ended up moving him to LegalZoom because his attorney started charging him for a 10-minute phone call and charge him an hour, and he got a little upset about it. So I would look at LegalZoom.
I don't know what happened there, but I can definitely attest to what Ken just said. I just went through this with my grandfather, who passed away a couple of years ago. The will finally came out, and the only way you could get a copy of the trust is if you were named in it. And my grandmother, unfortunately, was being a little shady with everything, and we finally got a hold of the lawyer and found out we were in the trust, so we got it, and everything ended up fine on the up and up. But yeah, it's right. You know, anybody can go ask for the will. Not anybody can ask for the trust.
The trust also does one other thing that's really important. Like you were talking, buddy, you were talking about your dad having money, right? Mm-hmm. What you can do with the trust is they can assign people that they trust to be the co-trustee.
Right.
And where that's important is, say there's somebody out there that's money hungry and they want to screw over one of your relatives, and they say this person is losing their mental capacity, they have no chance if there's a trust and it's been done right, because they're stepped in.
Doesn't a trust supersede a will as well?
I would want you to ask an attorney that. I would think not, but it's obviously what's the most current. So if I have a trust and then I go do a will, 2 months later, I think the will's going to rule the day. So when you do, there's other things you can do with the trust, but if somebody wants to call me, I can give them a more in-depth conversation on that. But I think
Absolutely.
I think if you go to LegalZoom, you're going to save a lot of. Now, I'm not going to knock attorneys. If you got an attorney that's reasonable, great. Some people want that face to face, but I'm just saying LegalZoom is all over the country, and you do get now they
you have access to it like right away. Yep.
Right away, and they're going to send you. They're going to fill it out. Yeah.
And for our listeners,
the Big Earl is real quick. The Big Earl is commenting. That's why it's called a trust buddy. Nick, you cannot say a word. You're not on the show. So
Candace says hi, Davey.
Go to your damn Offspring concert.
Yeah, like I said,
Candace Harrison. Hey, Davey. Hey, sis. Love you, Candace.
So,
love you
by the way, just
our
to
listeners,
point this, I want to point
quick.
this out. When I'm doing my planning, that's in my first questions. The first meeting is, do you have a will? Do you have a trust? Mm-hmm. That is one of the questions I ask. Because if you don't, I'm going to go through where the problems could be.
Yeah. Well, and then that brings us to how is it? You know, it's not like, I mean, you can Google, financial planners. What would be your advice on finding a financial planner that's both right for you and that you can trust?
We've talked about this before. Have your audience just type in the word broker check on their search window. Broker check. And from broker check, you can type in that person's name and where they're from, and you can see their history. You can find out if they have complaints, what licenses they have, how long they've been in the business. That'll tell you whether you're working with a professional or not.
So if you go to YouTube, we actually did a 3-part series on this with our friend Ken here. And he's put his skin in the game with us. He's done an amazing job. If you are looking for financial planning, he was actually just recognized by his firm as what was it, Ken? The financial planner of the quarter, I think it was, you said?
Well, they asked me if they could interview me as their rep of the quarter.
Pretty awesome. You can actually contact him with all that information right there. Take a screenshot, take a look at it. And if you want to get like a quick snippet of how he does things and what he does, if you go to our YouTube channel, there's a playlist. If not, I'll make one today of the past 3 episodes we did with him where we went over why you need financial planning. And then we kind of did a mock version with the Big Earl of how it works and Ken's process. And the last one that we just went over is why politics don't really mean shit when it comes to specifically elections, when it comes to the market and how the market's going to go up and down no matter what. Definitely a good, very informational thing to check out. That's all of Ken's info right down there, right on the bottom.
By the way, if you go to that broker check, if you go to the broker check, right under that person's name, if you see IA or RIA, then you're working with a professional because that means they're a fiduciary. That means I'm an investment advisor. That means I can charge for my time. It's very rare that I do. At times I do, but that puts me as a fiduciary. And that just means by law, I have to put your interests above my own. All you got to read is hiring a fund. They'll always tell you work with a fiduciary. They all say it now.
And Ken, I know we're running out of time. One last question for you before we do it. We do have to get off. What are your thoughts on crypto? Since that's a big thing for the younger generation, a lot of people are investing into it. And then, politics aside, but the new president, incoming president, is very crypto friendly. So, what are your thoughts on that whole ordeal? I know it's very volatile, right? Investing in it is not as secure as the average market or whatever. But what are your thoughts on cryptocurrency? Is it smart? Something you're saying stay away from it, or what are your thoughts on it?
Before you dive into that, Ken, this is what he's talking about. Broker check. All I did was type in Ken Hewett right here, El Paso, and it tells his life history within the financial game. Everything you need to know. And if there's a bad mark, if there's a complaint or whatever, he'll show it right there.
So I can't speak against or for crypto because I just haven't really given it any thought. I won't do it. Fair. I'm more old school. So I guess once it establishes itself, I mean, who was the guy who got thrown in prison because he stole so much money from everybody?
That was a guy from Binance. I forgot his name, but yeah.
He's a young guy, but I mean,
Yep.
so anytime something's new, I got to see it get established before I'll dip my feet into it. There's a lot of good things you can do that have been around a while. Like you said, you do real estate.
Mhm.
If you've told clients to buy a second house as an investment, that's a good investment. What's the
100%.
steady return? About 7 to 9% over time is what you're going to get. So I look at stuff like that. That's, it's a hard asset. I had a very wealthy client one time tell me, he said the only thing he wanted me to show him is real estate investments, which I can do from our commercial side. And I said, Jack, why is it that you like that? He said, well, Ken, I've made money in the market. I've lost money in the market. If he lost money, it's because he never gave me a shot. But he said, nobody's ever been able to steal my dirt. So that's something that's been
a
around.
Very good point.
Something that's been around forever. And I wasn't trying to promote what you're doing, but I like
true.
real
And a lot of
estate.
people understand they can use a VA loan multiple times too. And I look at some of my buddies that were smart about that, retired after 20 years, and they own 9 or 10 properties because everywhere they PCS, they bought another home, and
I had a first sergeant when I was getting out. He had 6 homes. That was his was his investment.
Yep.
And when I got into this business, he asked me what I thought. I thought, well, you're getting rental income on all of those, right? Yeah. Well, that seems like a pretty good deal. I mean, does it make sense? I just haven't put a lot of time into crypto. I don't want to sit there and say I'm against it or for it. I just haven't given a lot of thought.
It is a pretty volatile market.
It is. But it's all green right now.
Yeah.
Well, if you ask me about gold,
we can talk after our show. Yeah.
If you ask me about
sure.
gold, I'm a little bit more, because gold is very volatile, and people think it's so safe. Yeah. They go, well, I watched that commercial. They watched the guy who always says, buy gold, and then they said, God, I bought the gold and it dropped 30%. Why? Because the dollar went up. So
the problem is that you can buy gold, but you can't have it. You can't have a lot of gold. There are federal laws against actually having the gold, having gold bars.
Really?
Yeah. It goes back to the 1800s, late 1800s, when the gold and silver standard were both kind of fighting each other, and some people bought a whole bunch of gold and then almost tanked the entire U.S. economy. Funny story. That's what the Wizard of Oz is about. Gold standard. Real story. The Yellow Brick Road.
Great show, guys. I know, Chris. We all. Oh, buddy, you're gonna do an AAR, aren't you?
I do have the AAR. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'm gonna.
Well, first
give
of all,
the AAR.
Ken, it was great having you on.
Can I mention something?
Go ahead.
Oh yeah.
Something I started doing, because I have clients in different states and throughout Texas, and one of their fears was, or concerns was, well, Ken, you don't live here. What kind of communication will we have? So I'm doing online meetings with my clients, and I'm recording them. Something very rare, because I'm honest. So if I lie and it's a recording, how's that going to go for me in a court hearing when a client's upset? So it's more for educating them and keeping things sharp. But I've had clients now that live in San Antonio, that live in parts of New Mexico, and they said, Ken, this is even better if we were face to face. What are your El Pasoans doing? Oh, we're doing online meetings in El Paso too. I don't meet face to face with clients anymore, except like this. So I just wanted to point that out, that I do the meetings from beginning to end, and then we have quarterly meetings, but they're all online. Now the client has to give me permission to record it. How many say they don't want it recorded? Zero. They all want it.
Zero.
And they love it. So I send them the video an hour after we're done. I just wanted to point that out. So if you're worried because I'm not in your city, I'm taking advantage of the technology today. But I have been told by my firm I might be one of 100 reps that's willing to have it recorded. Most reps don't want it recorded.
Why is that? Oh, I really don't know. I mean,
If they say, look, I always will say what I'm going to tell you, I believe to be truthful and right, but I might be wrong about something. So I do say that. But before I have a video with the client, I go back and study the subjects. I call the different stuff. I find out. So I hope that I'm ready for the questions. But a lot of there are reps who lie. So if you're a constant liar, are you going to go from being a liar to honest one day for that hour? I don't think so. If you're a liar, your lies are going to come across in that video, and that's just
absolutely
asinine.
Hey, real quick, buddy, before you do the AAR, just to set the record straight, President Gerald Ford repealed that law on gold ownership when he privatized the ability to hold gold coins in bars. That was December 31st of 1974. So you can own as much gold as you want now.
Oh, buddy.
Not true, actually. Hold on. I mean, I can look stuff up too if I have a second. There, but you can't. You
just got Googled, bro. You just got Googled.
There's actually a dude that just went to prison a few years ago because he had like millions of dollars worth of gold and he had hid a lot of it.
That sounds like he's not reporting it.
Throw this in 'cause I'm not
and he's
here all the
getting in
time,
trouble for
but
reporting.
Dave, I think that you want to get into this gold thing and maybe bring that in one of your segments so you guys can really delve into this.
Yeah.
I agree. This sounds interesting.
So anyway, the AAR. So first off, Nick, horrible human. Never does his own shows, goes to Offspring concerts, which Ken and I both can attest to. Stupid band. No one likes them. The only thing we know about them is that they were born. Let's see. The alien conspiracy. Dave found a ridiculous video of a bobblehead doll that was getting a flashlight shoved in his face and eyes and his mouth. And wants us to believe that both aliens and Fraggle Rock are real things. They are not. Well, those
Fraggle Rock.
Aliens are real.
I want you to believe. I bring the video to the panel and we decide.
Keep shoving it down our throats, Dave. Let the man have his time.
Saying that video was stupid. That's not real. There's no way. There's no way anybody's that dumb. Like, not happening. Let's see. Then we had our Odyssey cap, which was brilliant. Honestly, I mean, really, it's insightful.
No bias there.
It was both insightful and a great segue into Ken.
Hashtag don't take shortcuts.
Ken Hewett, our financial advisor. That being said, don't take shortcuts. If they were shortcuts, if they were good, they would be the way. It would just be how people do it. Don't take them. They're stupid. They're as dumb as that alien video that Dave saw. And Offspring concerts. Both ridiculous. Don't do either of them. Anywho, and then we had Ken Hewett on, and we had pretty good conversation about
God damn it.
about saving your money, and then at some point making it rain. Ken says that we can make it rain at some point when we've saved enough. You just got to figure out what your goals are and whether you're making it like, I'm at like hail a little bit because it's change that I'm making fall from the sky. Some people, they're doing
Sounds dangerous, buddy.
They can make precipitation happen with cash a lot more than others. Like apparently Nick can, because he can just shirk his responsibilities and spend a bunch of money on an Offspring concert. But whatever. Anyway, but I suggest going to Dave Hewett. You can get him at Dave Hewett at Vanderbilt Securities.
Ken Hewett.
That's what.
Ken
What
Hewett.
did I say?
Dave Hewett.
You said Dave.
You said
I know
Dave?
you think about me all the time, buddy.
I'm sorry.
Dave's living right in he and Buddy's
I can't
fast.
both look at Dave's.
I don't
lovely
know
face.
if that was a compliment or an insult. So
I mean, he is the face man.
I am the face man.
You look like a pretty
That's all
cool
he's good
dude
for
there,
is a
Dave.
face.
I don't know if it was a compliment either. You can visit Ken Hewett at VanderbiltSecurities.com.
No, that's not how you can find me.
Well, that's what it says. I don't know if you see what it
Hewett,
says right now.
Hewett.
That would be an email address, buddy.
Well,
Hewett,
If you want to find Ken,
cut buddy off.
Just scan that QR code.
Hewett.
Scan that QR code right there.
Or call them at 915-779-8163 and just say, hey, kid, save me some. Like, I want to know how to make it rain. I want to know how to make it rain is the code word to Ken. He knows that you saw the show, and he will, in fact, let you know.
Actually, just so you know, the number one concern in America, top number one, is I want to live a comfortable, worry-free retirement.
Yeah.
But he wants to make it rain.
It sounds like such a simple. What is a comfortable worry for? Like, you know what I mean?
Depends on who you are. It depends on the individual.
Yeah, because you know what? At 16 or 17, that meant a different thing than it does at 47, and probably a different thing that it will in another 10, 15 years.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah,
anyway.
we don't only, just so you know, we work on the financial side, but we also work on the health, mental and physical. Because that's part of it.
Dave.
Health is like number 2 concern for people. If they've got money and they're set, health is number 1.
Get your body right, get your mind right.
Well, you know what they to quote the poet laureate, who did Mace, I think, if you have more money, sometimes you have more problems. So you definitely need to get your mind right.
Yes, sir.
True.
Awesome.
All right. Well,
Ken,
that's it. That's
Ken,
AAR.
Ken, it was
Dave,
a great time having you on. Go ahead, buddy. What?
I was just saying it's on you. That was the AAR. That's all of it. That was
Ken, final words for you, and then I'll close us out.
No, if you guys have any questions, I would say phone calls are always good. You know, call me, or I think they put up how you can
call
text
me on my cell phone. Yeah, no, Drake, put that on.
Don't ever do that again, Dave. Don't ever do that again.
Thanks, Ken. Thanks for coming on. For anybody that tuned in late, go to VeteranTrashTalk.com. That is our website. Go to Veteran Trash Talk on YouTube. Go over there, give us a subscribe, give us a like, because we are shadow banned for some crazy reason on YouTube. But we get a lot of views on here. Thanks for tuning in. Go to shop.veterantrashtalk.com. You can get this awesome tee.
Buddy.
I got the War Pig on.
Buddy.
Any of you can guess this shirt in the chat in the next 20 seconds, I'll send you a free shirt. And then buddy shirt. Yep. Boom. I'm not going to go into that before this episode gets taken down. And we'll catch you guys next Saturday. Faceman BTT out.
Check your